You know that feeling, right? Big storm, winds howling, lights flicker, and then boom, silence.
Cold or darkness. And you instantly think about everything that needs power.
Exactly. That fridge full of food, the Wi-Fi, maybe even medical equipment. It's a real problem. But what if that truck sitting in your driveway could actually power your house?
Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today on The Deep Dive. The Cybertruck and its ability to act as a home backup power source. Tesla calls it Powershare.
Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. I'm your host. Here, we basically take complicated stuff, find the really important bits, and make it easy to understand. We're your shortcut.
Yep. And today, the focus is Cybertruck Powershare, or Vehicle to Home, V2H. We're looking at a guide called Power Your Home with Your Cybertruck, the complete V2H setup guide. It really gets into the details.
So if you're wondering, is this Cybertruck V2H thing the real deal for backup power, or is it just hype? Stick around. We're going to unpack it all. Okay, so Powershare. Sounds straightforward, but what's actually going on? What's the tech?
The core idea is something called bidirectional charging. Simple, really. Most EVs, they only pull power in, charge the battery. That's it.
One-way street.
Right. But bidirectional means the Cybertruck can also push power out from its big battery back to, say, your home.
Ah, okay. So electricity flows both ways, in and out. That makes sense. Now, the guide mentioned V2L and V2V2. Quickly, what are those?
Sure. V2L is vehicle to load. The Cybertruck has outlets, like in the bed, that can power tools, appliances, up to 9.6 kilowatt. Think a mobile generator.
Handy for camping or a work site.
Exactly. And V2V is vehicle to vehicle. The Cybertruck can actually give a boost, charge another EV if it's run out of juice.
Like a roadside rescue for EVs. Cool. But, okay, back to V2H, vehicle to home. Powering the house. How much power are we talking about?
For V2H, specifically through the charge port connection we'll talk about, it delivers 11.5 kilowatts of continuous power.
11.5 kilowatts? Is that a lot? What does that translate to in a house?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty substantial for home backup. It's generally enough to run your essentials, lights, fridge, internet, fans, and even some bigger loads like potentially a central AC unit or a well pump, depending on their draw. It's significantly more than a small portable generator.
Okay. Wow. That's impressive. Now, the obvious question, I guess, power goes out. Can't I just run an extension cord from the truck to my fridge?
Yeah.
Why all the fuss about special setups?
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But no, it's not that simple for whole home power. You're dealing with your house's main electrical system. Safety is paramount. You need specific gear to manage that connection properly and safely.
Right. Safety first. Makes sense. So what is this specific gear? What do I actually need to buy or install to make V2H happen?
Okay, let's list it out. First, you need the Cybertruck, obviously, and it needs the right software updates enabled for Powershare.
Truck, check. Software, check. What else?
Second, you need a specific charger from Tesla, the universal wall connector. It's designed not just to charge the truck in, but also to handle power flowing out for V2H.
Okay, a special Tesla charger. Got it. Anything else?
Yes. The third key piece, especially if you don't already have a Tesla Powerwall system, is the Powershare gateway.
Powershare gateway. What does that do?
Think of it like an automatic switch or maybe a traffic controller for your home's electricity. When the grid power goes down, this gateway automatically disconnects your house from the utility lines, which is crucial for safety.
Right, so you don't backfeed the grid.
Exactly. And then it tells the universal wall connector, okay, signal the Cybertruck, time to send power to the house. It manages that whole transition. It's essential if you don't have a Powerwall.
What about this Tesla backup switch mentioned in the guide? Another box.
That one's more optional, or rather situation dependent. Sometimes, depending on your home setup and local codes, it might be needed alongside the gateway to make the installation smoother or compliant. Your certified installer figures that out.
Okay, installer decides. Now, what if someone listening already has solar panels and a Tesla Powerwall battery system at home? How does Cybertruck fit in then? Is it simpler?
Yeah, that's a great scenario. If you have a Powerwall system, you likely already have the necessary gateway built into that system. The Powerwall setup itself handles disconnecting from the grid.
So, no need for the separate Powershare gateway box.
Probably not, no.
Yeah.
In that case, you just need the universal wall connector and the right software on the Cybertruck. The truck then essentially becomes an extra battery for your existing Powerwall system. It feeds power into that system, giving you even longer backup duration.
Okay, so it integrates with the Powerwall setup. That sounds pretty slick. But either way, Powerwall or not, this sounds like a job for a pro, right? Not a weekend DIY project.
Oh, absolutely not. This involves working with your main electrical panel, high voltages. It has to be done by a Tesla certified installer, period. For safety, for code compliance, for it to actually work correctly, don't mess around with this yourself.
Loud and clear, professional installation is key. Okay, so we know the gear. Now, the big questions. What can this 11.5 kilowatts really run? And crucially, how long will it last?
Right, let's break that down using the water analogy.
Sure.
The 11.5 kilowatts, that's like your water pressure. It determines how many things you can run at the same time. And as we said, it's decent pressure. Lights, fridge, internet, maybe the AC or a well pump kickstarting. It has good motor starting capability too, around 110 LRA, which helps with those big appliances.
Okay, good pressure. What about the water tank? How much energy is stored?
That's the battery capacity. The Cybertruck has a massive battery. We're talking 123 kilowatt hours or potentially more. That's your energy reserve, your water tank.
123 kilowatt hours. How does that compare to, like, daily use?
Well, the average U.S. home uses maybe around 30 kilowatts per day. So Tesla's estimate is if you're careful with your usage, maybe sticking around that 30 kilowatt mark, a fully charged Cybertruck could potentially power your home for up to 3 days.
Up to 3 days? That's impressive. But up to is doing a lot of work there, isn't it?
It absolutely is. That 3-day figure depends heavily on a few things. 1, how charged was the truck when the power went out? 2, what are you actually running? If you crank the AC, run the dryer, have multiple TVs on, that duration drops significantly.
Makes sense. And wasn't there something about setting limits?
Yes, very important. In the Tesla app, you can set a discharge limit. You can tell the truck, okay, power the house, but stop when your battery gets down to, say, 30%, so you still have range left for driving when the power comes back.
Ah, smart. So you don't completely drain your truck powering the house.
Exactly. So, bottom line, it's powerful, has a big energy tank, but it's finite. You need to manage your usage during an outage.
Got it. Powerful, but manage it. Now, are there other tricks Powershare can do? The guide mentioned a couple more things.
Yeah, a couple of neat extras. One is that V2V, the EV rescue thing we mentioned.
Yeah.
You can use the 240-volt outlet in the truck bed to actually charge another EV that's stranded. Pretty cool feature.
Very neighborly. Okay, what else? Something about solar panels.
Right, solar integration. This is a really important point to get right.
Okay, lay it on us.
If you have solar panels and a Tesla Powerwall system, then yes, during an outage, your solar panels can charge the Powerwall, and the Powerwall can potentially help recharge the Cybertruck, or at least manage the energy flow intelligently. The Powerwall is the brain.
Okay, so solar plus Powerwall plus Cybertruck, potential recharging during an outage. What if you don't have the Powerwall, just solar panels and the Cybertruck V2H setup?
That's the key difference. In that scenario, generally speaking, the Cybertruck cannot recharge from your solar panels while it's actively powering your house in V2H mode during an outage.
Wait, really? So the sun might be shining, panels making power, but it won't go into the truck?
Not while the truck is simultaneously discharging to power the house through the V2H setup. The solar might power some house loads directly if the sun's out, reducing the draw from the truck, but it typically won't recharge the truck in that specific V2H configuration without a Powerwall managing things.
Huh. Okay, that is a critical distinction. No Powerwall, no solar recharge for the truck during V2H backup. Good to know.
Definitely. And, the Cybertruck has other cool tech like steer-by-wire, that crazy design,
Yeah.
but staying focused on Powershare.
Right, let's talk cost. The bottom line, we know we need the truck, but what about adding this V2H capability? Assuming someone doesn't have a Powerwall already, what's the damage?
Okay, let's look at the hardware estimates. These are rough figures, always get quotes. The universal wall connector, maybe around $600, give or take.
Okay.
The Powershare gateway, that's more substantial, maybe around $1,800.
Right, so about $2,400 in main hardware, but then there's installation.
And that's the big variable. Professional installation by a Tesla certified installer. That could easily run from $2,000 to $5,000, maybe even more, depending on how complex your home's electrical setup is, permits, labor rates in your area.
Wow, so enabling V2H could add anywhere from, $4,500 to $7,500 or more on top of the truck's cost? That's significant.
It is a real investment, absolutely.
And just to reiterate, if you do have a Powerwall system already,
then you likely save that $1,800 or so for the gateway hardware, plus potentially some installation complexity cost, making the V2H add-on much more affordable.
okay. How does this Cybertruck V2H setup compare to, say, the Ford F-150 Lightning system? That's been out longer, right?
It has, yeah. Ford's ProPower on board with their home integration system.
Yeah.
Couple of differences. Cybertruck offers a bit more power output for V2H, 11.5 kilowatts versus the Lightning's 9.6 kilowatt.
Okay. Slight power edge to Cybertruck.
And like we said, if you already have a Powerwall, the Cybertruck integration might be cheaper hardware-wise than adding Ford's separate system, but the Lightning system is more established, been on the market longer, and other players like GM are getting into this V2H game too. It's definitely heating up.
Competition is good for us consumers, hopefully. Now, money. You mentioned the cost, but are there ways to soften the blow? Tax credits, incentives, what's the deal there?
Okay, let's break down the potential savings. First, the Cybertruck itself. For 2025 models, certain all-wheel drive versions might qualify for the federal clean vehicle tax credit. That could be up to $7,500.
Might qualify. What are the catches?
Big ones. The truck's final MSRP has to be under $80,000, and the buyer's income has to be below certain limits. These rules change, model eligibility changes. So you absolutely must check the current rules and talk to a tax pro. Don't assume you qualify.
Got it. Verify, verify, verify. What about the Powershare hardware itself? The charger, the gateway, any credits for those?
Yes, some potential help here. The universal wall connector installation likely qualifies for the federal alternative fuel vehicle refueling property credit. That's 30% back on the hardware and installation cost, but it's capped at $1,000 for a home installation.
Okay, so maybe up to $1,000 back on the charger setup. What about the expensive part, the gateway? Does that qualify for the bigger solar-type credits?
That's the $1 million, well, maybe $1,000 question. There's a larger 30% residential clean energy credit, Section 25D, that covers solar and battery storage like Powerwalls. But it's currently unclear, let's say, whether the Powershare gateway itself or the Cybertruck used with it officially counts as battery storage technology under the strict IRS rules for that specific credit.
So maybe, maybe not.
Exactly. It's ambiguous right now. Don't bank on getting that big 30% credit for the gateway setup without professional tax advice confirming it for your specific situation. Seriously, talk to a tax advisor who understands these energy credits. Online forums are not reliable tax advice.
Understood. Big uncertainty there. Any other rebates? State, local, utility stuff?
Generally, unlike dedicated battery systems where rebates are more common, specific rebates just for V2H hardware like the gateway seem pretty rare right now. The guide mentions early Cybertruck Foundation Series buyers got some vouchers, but that looked like a limited-time promo, not an ongoing thing.
So don't expect free money from the state just for the V2H gear itself.
Probably not widely available, no. The best bet is to do your homework. Check your state energy office website, your city's programs, and definitely your specific electric utility. Sometimes they have pilot programs or incentives that aren't heavily advertised.
Right.
Research is key.
Okay, so research locally makes sense. Wow, we've covered a ton. Let's try and summarize. Cybertruck V2H, or Powershare. It's a powerful home backup option, 11.5 kilowatts.
Right. But it needs specific hardware, the universal wall connector, and usually the Powershare gateway unless you have a Powerwall, and professional installation is a must.
Costs can add up, potentially $5K, $7K plus for the V2H setup on top of the truck. Duration depends heavily on usage, but potentially days of backup, and tax credits are complex, especially for the gateway. Need expert advice there.
That sums it up pretty well. It's this fascinating mix of transport and energy resilience. Very capable, but you need to weigh the cost, the fact the truck has to be home and charged when you need it, and maybe a slight delay switching over compared to an always-on battery.
Definitely food for thought. Which leads to the big question for you, the listener. Considering all this, the costs, the benefits, your own power needs, could blending your truck and home energy backup with the Cybertruck actually be a smart move for you?
It's a compelling question, and if you are seriously considering integrating solar, batteries, maybe even V2H, remember that planning is crucial.
Yeah.
Getting expert guidance can make a huge difference. Resources like Integratesun, for example, they specialize in helping folks figure out these complex energy solutions.
Absolutely. Good planning prevents headaches later. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Cybertruck Powershare. Hopefully this gives you a much clearer picture of what it is, what it costs, and whether it might fit into your energy future.
Keep exploring those options. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.